Hey folks, it's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of the Rush Hour podcast. I've got a bonus episode for you right now that's going to blow your socks off. Not wearing socks? Put them on. We'll blow them off. We're going to be discussing Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. Namely, pop in that graphic there that Blake Lively's team has their biggest lie yet. I'm going to dive into that. All of the, what appears to be about a dozen or so content creators that were subpoenaed erroneously, and the proof of that fishing expedition that was done. I'm also going to share some of the mental cope, the hopium as it were, from some Blake Lively influencers, what they have to say about this deception that was clearly pulled off by Blake's side. And all of this and more is sponsored today by our very good friend Solitaire Grand Harvest. More on that in a second. But we are very happy to be able to make this weekend content for you. So I'm going to break this all down as simply as possible. Leave a comment if I'm missing anything, but it's quite above my pay grade, to be honest here. But Blake Lively's side subpoenaed for information revolving around YouTubers, TikTokers, and I believe even maybe some people on Twitter, right? And who knows who else, right? Next thing you know, they're going to be coming after people's Pinterest posts, my MySpace account. Who knows what's next, right? I, for whatever reason, have walked away from this wreckage unscathed. No subpoenas here, which makes me feel like they don't realize we get 1 million views a month. Like, what are you talking about? This is a Times Magazine reviewed podcast right here. Come on, folks. You think Blake's the only one who's been in Time Magazine? Hombre over here featured. Doesn't mean anything. Literally, Time Magazine is dead. Well, it should be at least. I mean, did you see they had their 100 biggest podcasts and they didn't name Joe Rogan? Think what you want of the Joe Rogan Experience. It's the biggest podcast in the world. I don't understand. Either way, I digress. So, as we're going to show you, Blake's Lively side said, we need to subpoena for all of these YouTubers, all of their banking information and this and that. Now, they have this theory, you know, kind of like that crazy person at the bus stop. They have this theory that Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has paid all of these content creators to do all this stuff. But there's no evidence of that. And without the evidence, you can't just ask people for you can't just barge into someone's house and start rifling through their things because you think they've done something wrong. Like, you need evidence, probable cause, things like that. And they didn't have it. So they didn't think that Justin Baldoni's team would share the information that proves them wrong because it was under a protective seal. That information coming from Tag. Hold on. Tag is that company that Justin Baldoni was going to hire to do some sort of untraceable PR campaign, maybe astroturfing, maybe it was, we really don't know because they never actually hired them. There's really no bill of sale that Baldoni hired Tag. What they were doing was preparing for self-defense. In the past, I've related this to jiu-jitsu. You don't train jiu-jitsu so you can just go on the street and start throat punching people. You train jiu-jitsu, I don't know if I'm doing it right. You train jiu-jitsu so that you can defend yourself. And that's the basic defense of Baldoni, which was we weren't starting a smear campaign. We were defending ourselves from all of the accusations that Blake made that we were some hostile set where everyone was harassing each other and sharing porn and birthing videos and whatnot. So that's their argument. And so far, Baldoni's side continues to provide receipts to back up all of these claims. Coming up next, uninterrupted after this quick sponsor, I'm going to share the motion to quash by our good friend Lauren. It is fantastic. The way she describes how she got into this case. I'm going to share the content creator that actually did have their subpoena withdrawn by Blake's side, and I'm going to share the mental gymnastics being done by Blake's supporters that makes this look like a normal situation, even though it's completely unethical what happened. All that coming right after this. Today's episode of The Rush Hour is sponsored by Solitaire Grand Harvest. It's the #1 solitaire game in the world, but it just got better because there are Smurfs in the game. Now, how it works is you don't just play solitaire and all the different levels that come with it, but you actually are also helping the Smurfs rebuild their village and harvest crops in the process. I was showing this game to my wife and she loves solitaire. She ripped the phone out of my hands. For the ultimate challenge, players can help the Smurfs build their new village. The game is completely free to play, and it is a 100% ad-free experience. So to recap, not only are you playing solitaire, but you're also chilling, growing your own farm, and they've got Smurf pets that you can raise. So if you do nothing else this weekend, chill out and help the Smurfs rebuild their village. Download Solitaire Grand Harvest now by clicking the link in the description, or you can also scan that QR code right there. Now back to the show. All right, well, let's dive right into it. Here it is. Here's Tag's response to the interrogatory from Blake, where Blake didn't think that they would share their receipt of all of the content creators that were involved. Again, here it is. It's going to sound underwhelming because attorney's eyes only, pursuant to protective order. Here are the 4 names that they had. These should have been the only names that Blake Lively's side could have subpoenaed: Billy Bush, Andy Signor, Candace Owens, and Perez Hilton. Now, just because Tag has spoken to these people doesn't mean that there was money exchanged or there was some sort of contract. These are reporters, right, on the internet that will ask people for questions, just like I did. I inquired about an interview with Brian Friedman. I have no problem saying that because it's in full transparency. You're trying to get down to the truth. So you're asking people for interviews, trying to figure out what actually went down. And this case has been going on for almost a year now. Can you believe it? It's been going on for well over, I think 7-8 months now since the first lawsuit started to come out. Absolutely wild stuff. So here's the full list. And now why is this important? Because it proves that Blake Lively completely outpunted her coverage. Now, they also go into all of the other people that they've spoken to, the reporters: Daily Mail, TMZ, CNN, GMA, Variety, and I guess, whether you're a content creator or whether you work at Daily Mail, in this world in 2025, it shouldn't make a difference. You are you're getting down to the truth. We all have a platform. My platform is larger than Elizabeth Wagmeister's. I think they spelled her name wrong. My platform is bigger than Emma Powell, whoever the hell that is. I mean, sure, they have Daily Mail, but we've got unfiltered, like time and energy, complete bandwidth to share our story. So my point being is that there's no need to separate these reporters from these reporters. If you're sharing new information, then you are a reporter. If you're commenting on information that's already out there, you are commentary. That's how it works. And I think we need to do a better job of educating people in society, because there's this idea, which we've seen, Business Insider, there's this idea that if you have these shiny names, Us Weekly, that you somehow have more authenticity. And what we're realizing is that's just not the case. Authenticity comes on a name-by-name basis. You might think I'm authentic. You might not believe me, or you might not agree with me on things, but you might know that I'm not bought and paid for by anybody, and I'm going to share my opinion with you. And then there might be somebody at, I don't know, CNN or Fox News that you go, that person's a paid shill, whatever. So it's really up to the person to kind of understand how much trust that exists there, right? So here's somebody on the, I guess, pro Blake Lively side. I have yet to confirm if they're a real person. They might be. I haven't looked into it, but it almost reads as if it's like Ryan Reynolds as a bot. Maybe it's a real person, maybe it's not. Content creators named as making content on behalf of Justin Baldoni, 36 so far. Blake Lively, 0. So what's interesting here, and again, this information all changes, but by Ezra Hudson, Blake Lively's attorney, saying that they're subpoenaing all these different content creators, they actually thought that the content creators wouldn't fight back. I don't know why else they would have done this. It is the worst PR you could imagine, because now that we see that none of these other content creators had anything to do with it, we see that it was a PR stunt, that went bad. Stunts don't always go well. Sometimes you land the stunt, sometimes you crash and burn. And they're really crashing and burning on this one. It is really, really bad. So this was the response from a pro Blake Lively side after realizing they've been duped. So my thoughts on this are probably less generous. I started having doubts on Sunday evening, and I'm sad to see that I was right in this instance. This was a PR move. It could have been a coincidence that Hudson filed her motion just as letters from content creators were dropping. That being said, I think her motion was worded in a way that wanted us to think that content creators were on Tag's list, and it sucked. So this is a pro Blake Lively person admitting that they were duped. Kind of like how the Jeffrey Epstein YouTubers all showed up and Pam Bondi handed them a phase 1 of the Epstein files. They were all suckers. You were duped. You were part of a PR campaign. Friedman and Fritz can exaggerate and blur the lines between facts and lies. I would disagree with that. Blake's lawyers cannot do that. Not when the loudest content creators are pro Baldoni and when they're being subpoenaed in this case. It was a poor attempt at PR and it will backfire on Blake and her team. And maybe Blake's lawyers have a reason to subpoena the content creators, or maybe it's a fishing expedition. However, insinuating that they were subpoenaed because Tag put them on the list was a shitty move that in the end did more harm than good. Now, I don't even know who wrote this, but I'm giving them some authenticity credits for being able to call out, quote unquote, their side. Now, the reason why the majority of content creators are on Justin Baldoni's side is extremely simple. It's because the majority of people that understand this case know that Blake hasn't provided a morsel of evidence to prove any of her claims. There is no loyalty to Justin Baldoni outside of the loyalty to the truth. And seeing that Justin's had his career wiped away with no evidence so far to show any of the things that have been alleged. Here's a nice comment I wanted to provide. The way that Ezra Hudson, Blake Lively's attorney, lied in the court letter is exactly how she lied in the CRD complaint. We already saw it with the dancing scene, right? Remember, they said Justin was going in for the kiss, pulling at her lips and all this crazy stuff. And now this is the second proof, for instance. People who are not blind to the truth can see it right away. She says half-truths and lies by omissions to do maximum gaslighting. The whole complaint is like that, completely twisting and manipulating and lying by omission about things that happened. You might remember, in that complaint, they accused Baldoni of hiring his buddy to play the gynecologist, leaving out the fact that his buddy trained in like Shakespearean theater. They knew each other from acting school. He was a highly credentialed actor that was doing all of this great stuff. They left all of that out. She lied. I mean, multiple cases of lies. And falsus in uno, falseness in omnibus, the saying that if you're lying about one thing, you're lying about everything. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the truth. What it means is the boy who cried wolf, right? What it means is, how can anybody believe you're credible if there's even one lie, one mistruth, one statement that is meant to twist? You can't. They said, I guess that's why Ezra is so successful. She knows how to lie and manipulate and gaslight like abusers do. A great skill to have in his attorney. The problem here is they're trying to lie against people who make their living calling it out, that being content creators. Stick around and wait to see what I've got from Lauren. It's great. I've loved Lauren before. I love her more now. You're going to love this. Prominent Blake Lively influencers explanation for the released interrogatory evidence. So now they've, this kind of happens with cults, right? They get kind of thrown on their heels, then they take a minute, then they do that mental gymnastics, they sort of stretch, do some yoga, limber up in the sauna, and then they contort back to their original sort of cognitive dissonance of why they believe what they believe. With this unsealing, it is now confirmed that Wayfair utilized Tag to communicate and coordinate with content creators to create content on behalf of Wayfair directly targeting Blake Lively for her protected activity of making safety complaints and asking for workplace accommodations due to safety. What? The revelation that Wayfair was indeed working with content creators on a deliberate PR smear campaign against Lively isn't Tag's only issue. However, in the recent hearing, people that were employed at Tag during their initial engagement with Wayfair had claimed that Tag's engagement with Wayfair ended in September of 2024. It becomes clear then why Tag had originally tried to limit their responses to interrogatory number 5 to the date of Lively's filing her CRD complaint. It proves that Tag's claim their engagement with Wayfair ended in September is not true, and they continued their smear campaign against Lively through the end of 2024 and likely into 2025. So what this person is alleging is that is that these names that are on the list are names that are there, Billy, Andy, Candace, and Perez. They're there. Again, this is the allegation made by a Blake Lively supporter. These names are there because Tag coordinated with them. It is a wild leap to judgment because what we know here as someone responds is, I don't even know where to start. My brain melting trying to untangle his reasoning. The interrogatory literally asks for people they have had any contact with in any manner. So these are just people, Andy, Candace, that are seeking, if I were to say have emailed Tag, which I haven't, but if I did, at least I don't think I did, if I did and asked for a quote, asked for an interview, asked for clarification on something, I would be on that list. It does not mean that any of these people have been paid. On one end, I personally would love it if they could just open up their bank accounts and prove this, but I understand why they should fight this, because that's just wrong. That's just wrong. You know how much money, and no offense to calling Andy out here, do you know how much money this guy probably makes? Are you kidding me? Candace Owens is worth $90 million. Are you kidding me? Do you think that they can even afford to pay them? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? They make so much money on their, like, you have no idea that for sure Candace is worth more than Blake Lively. Maybe not if you involve Mint Mobile money, but these people are powerful social media content creators. They're not receiving money for this. What are you smoking? The question was asked, what were they thinking subpoenaing all those content creators? And by the way, that's a compliment to Andy. He's got a massive channel. He's got thousands of Patreon members. They're crushing it. Good for him. Deserves every penny. Because I know that because I'm crushing it and I'm just a little boy compared to these behemoths, right? Hit the subscribe button. What were they thinking? And by the way, I've got a lot of Candace Owens content coming out. It's not that I disagree with her, but we're going to be covering the Candace Owens lawsuit. She's being sued by Brigitte Macron. It is a real 50-50. This case is like a 90-10, 90% on Justin Baldoni's side, maybe 95%, really. The Baldoni case, it's almost the more educated people get, the more they drift to Baldoni's side. But with the Candace Owens case, it's real 50-50. We're covering it on our TikTok, D Neals, and we'll be covering it on here as well. Probably have a video out tomorrow. So either way, the question is, what were they thinking subpoenaing all those content creators? The more I think about this, the more insane it seems. If you had told me months ago Blake would be subpoenaing all the content creators I've been following, I'd have called you mad. The fact they opened the door to 40 plus people to tell the judge there was no smear campaign, we hated her for free. Here's all the reasons why. Why do you think they did this? Here's some of the theories I've got. And the theory that I found interesting is they don't understand social media and thought it would silence content creators instead of giving them more content. Listen, when I was threatened with lawsuits, when I was sent cease and desist by Laura Owens, it was all because she thought she could silence me. I had to make it clear to her. I had to let her know, you are giving me more content. I will continue to make money on my monetized channel as I expose the truth. Absolutely. Like, that's it. That's all it comes down to. But because Ezra Hudson filed this, even though the truth is being exposed, what we see here is all of the instances of content creators, what we have here is all of the instances of content creators taking that initial information from Ezra, whipping it around the world multiple times before the truth comes up. So this was said, Baldoni's PR team provided a list of content creators that directly or indirectly provided content or services on behalf of Wayfair, proving out that Baldoni's team had been manipulating a vast smear campaign for almost a year. Now, this was what they were saying before this was debunked, but what you see is all of the people that want to take, not go to the source material. They'll take someone's word for it, like, ex-patriarch boy here, and then they'll just kind of make their own ecosystem of content off of it. Sarah says Justin Baldoni's team got content creators to post things for them. Again, no, not proven whatsoever. It sounds like something came out of the jet. And by the way, it sounds like, so people just kind of like grasping for the truth. It sounds like something came out in the Jed Wallace depot, and now they're likely cross-checking bank records showing he was paying content creators to push anti-Blake content. Now, if something did come out of a deposition that said I was paid by so-and-so or this person, then the subpoena makes sense. If you're one of those creators, now would be a good time to stop talking and lawyer up. And then, of course, Chris, Reputation 91 says, where'd you see this? And, of course, the answer is nowhere. But people ran with it. Oh, you're telling me it's not a random attack on their freedoms, but they all knew they had direct communication with his PR? Shocking news, impossible to predict. Ex-patriarch, who knew? All of us. You're wrong. Now, I knew this from the beginning. I can't speak for other people, but I just knew this was ridiculous to think that, they're going to be paying Andy, Candace, or even someone with one subscriber any amount of money. And if that does come out, great, but there is no evidence that even begins to link towards that. So let's finish today by talking about one of our favorite pals, Lauren, from the Court of Random Opinion. You go subscribe to her if you aren't already. She's grown vastly from when I think I interviewed her In the Laura Owens case, I think she had like 100 subscribers, and we're so happy for her. She's earned it through sharing her, her opinions on this case, and that's exactly why she was subpoenaed, really, for sharing her opinion. She goes into her response, her motion to quash the subpoena, saying, "Hey, I started covering the case on YouTube with an open mind. She says, I liked Blake Lively, I liked Gossip Girl, I liked The Shallows, right? She almost got attacked by a shark on a rock." I don't know how the movie goes. Did she die? I have no idea. Does she see dead people? Who the hell cares? The point is, did she find Adeline or whatever? Her missing pants? What was the movie? I still think Unaccepted was her best work when she played the love interest to Jonah Hill. What a time to be alive, as they created a fake university called South Harmon Institute of Technology, which the acronym was SHIT, and it was in brown lettering. Oh, get an Oscar nomination for that. It was a good movie, though. That was early Blake days before the, I don't know, whatever she is now. So anyway, Lauren just responds truthfully, like, hey, I wanted to see what the deal was. Early stages, I stated my stance on the issue was neutral. The same thing that everyone has, right? I came into it with a fresh set of eyes, and then I quickly realized what side I was on. That's modern day journalism, or commentary, really, which is, all right, let's crack this thing open. And then by the end of reading it all, you go, all right, I'm leaning on this side. Now, could there be, some cognitive dissonance that we talked about before, where you continue to only absorb the information that protects your beliefs? Yeah, sure, maybe. We all have that to a degree, but she's still trying her best, right? And again, I'm probably 100% on this case on the same side as Lauren. Like, I don't think we disagree about anything. Now, I've been questioned by people like, oh, he's a teetotaler or whatever, sitting on the fence, playing both sides. But it's like, sorry, that's what you do when you stress test things. You try to take Blake Lively's side and say, how could she have wanted to do this? You try to take Baldoni's side. And then as you do that, as you work it out, you come to your conclusions because you did try to see it from both sides. That way, when you come to the conclusion that you believe Justin more than Blake, you've at least tried to walk in her shoes. That's what we've done all along. I still hate it when people say, well, I didn't follow Dave because he wasn't pro Justin Baldoni enough. Fuck you. What are you talking about? Either way, she continues, I would prefer not to disclose these one-sided communications to Brian Friedman, as I'm paraphrasing, as my relative inexperience in journalism at the time led me to proceed like an utter dork. We love Lauren for calling herself an utter dork. Lauren, you're not an utter dork. You're our dork. We love you. Dorks unite. By the way, if Lauren doesn't make merch shirts that say utter dork, I don't know. I don't want to be your friend if you don't make that merch shirt. It did not even occur to me that I should contact a publicist rather than an attorney with these requests. That said, if I am given no option but to embarrass myself by disclosing these emails in the interest of protecting my privacy from Miss Lively's invasive subpoena, I will do so. I've only attempted to communicate with Miss Lively's attorneys regarding the subpoena. They were largely unresponsive. So she basically says, look, I've been left on red. Do you want to see my pathetic emails? This is very much, are you not entertained? Take a look at it. This is all I got. We love you, Lord. Here is Astrology with Janessa, 8,000 subscribers. I'll be 8,001 right there. 8,251. Great lighting, great look. She says, subpoena withdrawn. Have a listen.
My lawyer has informed me that the subpoena for my account information has been withdrawn. I am relieved, to say the least, and wanted to record something for you and share a little bit about what's happened in the last few days.
So if you would like to see that, go to Astrology with Janessa. I don't want to gank her content. Is gank the right word? Yank. I don't want to steal her content here, but go give that a shout out. Go support these content creators because, like I said before, the damage has been done. The damage has been done because they were used as pawns for the other side to say, see, there is something here. Because that side plays, from what I've seen, on hearsay, on half-truths, on misleading people and whatnot. And we're just not going to do that. We're just not going to do that over here. If you like our content, please hit the like button. Coming up after the Blake Lively trial, when it's all said and done, will be the Candace Owens versus Brigitte Macron trial. It is a massive international trial. Get out your breadsticks, get out your baguettes. It's going to be wild. We're beginning the coverage of it. As defamation suits go, it could be bigger than this one, to be quite honest. It could be bigger. And that's what I'll be covering. Very interested in that. As a comedian discussing free speech, very interested in that. So again, oh, by the way, if you're still listening, this is going to be your final chance. If you're a teacher in our community, this is your final chance to check out. Oh, there it is. This is your final chance to check out the Teacher Appreciation Wish List. You can submit to this wish list, and we're going to be sharing all of the Amazon wish list from our teachers that need supplies, content for their classroom, posters, motivational signs, crayons, fidget spinners, whatever Play-Doh. I don't care. Do whatever you want. And you got to submit this weekend, and we'll get you on our list, and then we'll get our audience to help donate to you so kids can have a great, inspiring classroom so they can learn critical thinking skills, which we need in today's world with AI and technology and misinformation. You're going to need your critical thinking skills where we're headed. Thanks again to our sponsor, Solitaire Grand Harvest, and don't forget to play the game. You can click the link in the description or also scan that QR code right there. Have a good rest of your weekend, everybody.